Welcome back, everybody, to this week's episode of Inside Us with my special guest, Jim Wright, the man, the myth, the legend, fighter, business owner, happily married man, mentor to many. I don't know what other distinguishing facts I can give about you, but welcome to the show.
Learning stuff as you're talking. So.
So for a lot of you guys that don't know, this is Jim Wright. He is my sensei, professor. I think we've actually talked about that a couple of times, like what you prefer, because I think you practice so many disciplines, sensei kind of just fits, yeah?
I was my original school that I got my black belt in karate. Everybody that was a black belt they called sensei. And so I worked for my instructor for years as sensei. Then I opened up my school as sensei. So it just everybody
just works out like that.
Everybody's always called me sensei. I'm not really big. I mean, people call me coach, professor, James, I'm not, especially now with all of the different styles, like everybody, and then I've trained in so many different things. So like the Kung Fu styles and that they call Sifu or Crew for Muay Thai. Mm-hmm. So I have all kinds of different labels and
titles. So, So I guess it's whatever floats your boat that day. But for me, it always feels weird for me because just the job I work, like if you don't get people's titles correct, like it kind of messes up, and then or you can get messed up. But I remember, I think I tried calling Nate. I think I called him coach a couple of times. I could see him getting like not visibly, but like irritated. I think because I'm not like one of the fight. I don't know. Maybe I was just overreading, but I thought, I don't know. It was just something I always thought he preferred sensei or whatever. But so. For a lot of you guys that don't know, I've preached about this man for I don't know how many episodes. I've definitely mentioned it almost on every episode of Inside Us, just because the amount of people I've had and the impact Jiu Jitsu has had on my life. But you are the first person to bring like Jiu Jitsu to North Carolina.
No, not North Carolina.
Not North Carolina.
Onslow County.
Onslow County.
Yeah.
So what was that like? Because I would imagine you were one of the many outliers. And I think correct me if I'm wrong, that was like back in the day where people were trying to find that one discipline that would like dismember you, and like it was like a competition between them, right? It was like, you don't need to do boxing, you want to train kickboxing because it incorporates everything, and that's how you can really protect yourself, or like karate. Because I remember you mentioned the other day Tiger Schultz. I'm from Jersey, so I know Tiger. Tiger Schulman, right? Yeah. And then you said that that was actually, he was a fighter, yeah.
Yeah.
And
he has MMA fighters now. Yeah. It was different. Like there's thousands of styles of martial arts. And so like when you say like karate, there's all kinds of different rule sets for different tournaments. But,
because there's like point sparring and stuff.
There's point sparring, and then there's knockdown tournaments, and then the stuff that I found it's funny. Yeah. I competed in knockdown tournaments when I lived in Rochester, New York, and you couldn't punch to the head, but you can full blown kick or knee to the head. Which is like,
that's like the UFC's like 12-6 rule.
Yeah. It's like, okay, I mean, a knee to your head is going to hurt way worse.
The Frankie Edgar knockout, like that's one of the biggest examples of that. Like that was Ben Askren. Like any time where that head is just getting cracked like that, like. You're taking your whole body, putting it into the point of your knee.
And that's okay, but I can't punch you.
But I can't punch you. So with the different rule sets, I would imagine, obviously training camps and stuff are different, but as far as the competition between schools, like was it, I get like the only other competition I could think of is like Karate Kid, right? Like there's like the dueling schools. I don't mean to put it in that context. It's not as silly as the movie.
I know that stuff like does exist in that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know people that have gone through it. I don't know that I have like rival schools. I don't really. If I do, I don't really. This might sound bad. I don't really care.
Yeah. Makes sense. Make your money, king. Make your money.
I do my thing. They do their thing. And I got some pretty. I'll say negative or even painful, emotionally stuff that have happened throughout the years where I've lost students and they've opened up schools and stuff like that. And but like I said, they the ones that are still open, they do their thing, I do my thing, and occasionally we'll cross paths or something at a tournament or a fight or something. But it's it was a thing when stuff happened, but it's not really a thing anymore.
So,
but
as far as jiu-jitsu in Onslow County, that had to have been like super crazy, because I know you tell stories all the time. Like, you were learning from the manuals when you were bringing it here, because that was the only source of like new information or like just different techniques.
Yeah, you either had to buy DVDs or actually no, you had to buy VHS or magazines and that. And the community, the martial art community locally, I had the biggest school, karate school back then, and so it was pretty successful. And even when we would go to tournaments, I went to this one tournament at ECU. I took 36 students and from white belt to black belt.
Wow.
And all 36 won. Wow. And in multiple divisions. So they did kata, weapon, sparring, and every single person took a first place, at least one.
So that's like, so is demo a part of that as well? Is that all like the demo teams, and then also like
some tournaments will have a demo team category. This particular one didn't.
Okay.
So when I started doing jiu-jitsu, that's gay, and that's myself, and I know like
I'm not doing something that says BJ in it. Are you kidding me?
And so I would get harassed. Now nobody would do that nowadays because of the political climate and that, but back then it was frowned upon rolling around with other guys and that. Although like wrestling's in the Olympics, I mean like it's not.
Judo is in the Olympics too. Yeah.
So it's it was kind of funny, but I started. I was interested, and I got magazines, and I would try things out, and I would teach things the best of my ability at the time. And then I went to a school, Yamasaki's Academy up in Maryland, and I would do like private lessons on like Friday or whatever, and then I would take the group class, and then I would do some private lessons next day, and then I would drive home, and I would do that like once a month, and that whatever move that they taught me, that's what I would spend the month teaching and practicing and stuff like that. And but if I did that today, every jiu-jitsu, with the jiu-jitsu police, and you're not a real black belt, you're not this, and you're not, and fake this and fake that, whatever, they'd crucify me. But and the thing with lineage is kind of comical, because when I started, that wasn't a thing. Nobody talked about lineage, like who was your instructor, who this and that, and that wasn't a thing. That's brilliant marketing to keep people in your system and stuff
very
like that. But I was going around to seminars learning stuff. I didn't really have an instructor. Even when I went to Yamasaki's Academy. I would have different instructors there, so I mean, there wasn't like a loyalty thing, because that was just a friend of mine knew them, and I went there, and then I found a school in Charlotte, and I would go there and do private lessons and stuff like that. He's since passed away, the guy that I was taking lessons from there, but I would just go around and the seminars and do my best. So I didn't have an instructor. So like I see these things on forums, like you can tell it's a fake, McDojo or whatever, because they don't have a defined lineage. I'm like, back then, that wasn't a thing. And it might have been a thing with some places, or maybe in California or something, but
and that's an issue too, is like people want to feel like they're in. So jiu-jitsu is already, I feel like, you can obviously attest to this, jiu-jitsu has to have exploded as far as popularity, practitioners, and just I think overall notoriety. But I think people are in that niche group already, and then they also want to be in the niche group of the niche group. So it's like I think it's very. It's very silly to be
definite cult aspects of
exactly.
jiu-jitsu.
If you got Gracie's, and then is it Machadas? I like. It's not that I don't care about your lineage, right? I just know that when people ask me who trains me, I say Jim Wright, Sensei Wright, Professor Wright, whoever it is, right? Coach Wright. So wherever you learned your stuff from gave you the ability to teach me, and that's really all I care about, right? I think that's selfish of me, but I think the whole lineage thing is silly, because as long as you can perform and you're growing
it's I mean, I get it. I mean, because
Yeah.
like my original instructor, Grandmaster Dan Genovese. I mean,
Yep.
I still when I go to New York, I'll still teach at his school,
Yeah.
and I'll still. I mean, it's been a 40-year relationship with
Yeah.
him, and so I mean, I don't know if loyalty is a good word or not,
Yeah.
because obviously I'm not loyal to him or that
School.
style, because I have black belts in multiple systems.
Yeah.
So I'm more loyal to the martial arts than I am a
Yeah.
system of martial arts.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're friends. I mean, he's my instructor. I mean, we have all of that. There's nothing. We're not missing anything, because I trained in other styles or something.
If anything, it only hones your game, right? Because I think the hardest part for people who don't necessarily train multiple disciplines, you're just not learning how to use your body, one, efficiently, two, and then how to move it as a cohesive unit. I think once I started doing the MMA classes and learning striking and where pressure needs to be in no gi versus gi, when you go from, I feel like, no gi to gi, it's, I don't want to say it's easier, but there's a lot more things to grab onto. So maybe you can't necessarily get your weight somewhere, but at least you can pull them into the spot, or at least a remote place where you can get to that pressure. So I think just overall training in different disciplines not only makes you a better instructor, but just overall better martial artist. I
Sure.
definitely see how that works, and you definitely preach that all the time. I think Aaron Candiaz is doing karate now. Darren's doing karate now. I forget who else. I think actually a lot of people are doing karate now. Everybody got their blue belts and they're like, all right, let's get out of the fundamentals class. Let's go learn some striking. I got to get on that boat too. But so you come to Onslow County. What brought you to Onslow County? Why did you pick this? Yeah. Okay. So did you get out and then you just decided to stay here and bring it and teach? Or was it was there a back and forth from New York, or is
no?
That just
I moved around a lot. My first wife, she was in the Marine Corps as well, and I was in Marine Corps Reserves.
Okay.
So it was whenever she PCS someplace, it was easy for me to just, transfer that. And she was also in the reserve, but she was an active reservist, so she would get the different AR billets and that, and then I would just join that unit. And for years I told people that her last duty station, I'm going to open up a school there. And so we did that. This was her last duty station, opened up a school. We ended up splitting, but had to open up the school. I still had a number of years. In fact, I think it was 2 months or 3 months after I opened the school, I got called back to active duty.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. And,
so you started a business and you're like, oh shit, I gotta go.
Yeah. And still that almost ruined me financially and everything else. And then that happened. I was called back to active duty 5 times, but while I had the school, it happened three times. Ooh, 2000, something like that.
Oh, damn, yeah. So that was right when 9/11 was about to happen. Or,
I got called back for 9/11. I got my first time was Persian Gulf.
Hell yeah.
Desert Storm. I got called back to go to Korea once to do some stuff there, and but then the rest was
the normal
global war on terrorism.
I have to say, you couldn't have. It was either here or California. You couldn't have picked a better spot though, because with the amount of, I guess, active duty service members in the area who are already kind of athletic, maybe on the fence about fighting or at least training, I feel like this was the perfect market for you to sell it to. And then it really wasn't. Wow.
No.
So how did that work? Those first that first year, couple years?
Okay, I got to tell you, I'm part of some big organizations and that, and they've trained me, and I have mentors and stuff, and I kind of live nowadays on a statistical aspect of things and on everything, and sometimes that's not a good thing because it's relationship and like I think in flow charts and statistics. So but everybody said that, oh, you're next to a Marine Corps base, all those Marines, man, you must be packed with Marines. And it's like, no, because they have to do some of the stuff as part of their job. They have to PT, and they don't, when they're done, most of them don't want to
come home and train.
You know, so unless they're a martial artist or considering becoming a martial artist, it doesn't really happen.
Yeah, that's really your market group there.
So now it's happening more because of, you know, you can, like every single night you can watch MMA fights on some channel somewhere. So it is way more popular. And so we do have more now. But like when I opened up the school in 1998, I think it was. That didn't
happen right away.
No.
So your marketing group, it was like, hey, we know you're tired and you're getting PT'd in the morning, but also you could come out, right? So were there any like volunteer opportunities for guys? I know you say you're a big proponent of volunteering for the school and kind of reaching back to the community. Was that something you tried when you were?
Oh, when I started the school, I would go to daycares and schools and any place on base that would let me train. Because this was prior to McMap and that. This was back in line training days, and then close combat after that, and then McMap came afterwards. And then there was a period of time, like when I joined the Marine Corps.
This is pre like belt system now.
Oh yeah. When I joined the Marine Corps, there wasn't a system.
Belt. Okay.
I mean, there wasn't a system. Like you did Pugil sticks, you did stuff, but there was no system for martial arts.
Wow.
And then line training came up, and then that went away. And then I think there was a time that there wasn't really anything again, and then close combat course, and then it changed to McMap afterwards. So I started the school, and I would just go to elementary school, and I would teach every single gym class all day, and then awesome. I would go and back to the school and teach every class that night, because I was the only instructor.
Well, you sure as hell were getting the hours in on that instruction.
Oh yeah.
I try and help Caitlin every chance I can with the kids' classes, and those kids will take it out of you. I forgot how much energy I had as a kid until it's 4 o'clock, 5:30, and these kids are still running and jumping, and I'm at my wit's end. And I'm like, I just want to train. I want to come in. I want to hit the bag a little bit, and then I want to go
used
home.
To be easier.
Yeah.
Like when I used to teach what we called kinder karate class back for one of my instructors in Rochester, New York, and I'd have between like 35 and 45 4 and 5 year olds in class. But like I would say skeet. It means attention stance, and they'd lock it up. You tell them to do something, they did it, and it didn't have a problem. I did that for years, working for her, and then before when I moved from Rochester to New Jersey, and that last year, kids were starting to get like defiant a little bit. But then by the time I opened up my own school, kids are all over the place. Like like you couldn't have by myself. I couldn't do 40 kids that are 5 years old at one time. Just me. I was the only instructor. They just won't do it. They but back then they did. But of course Rochester is one of the most conservative cities in the United States. So that's how they're brought
Different
up too. But but it is noticeable that the kids are like way different nowadays than there were.
I'll tell you what, when I was in high school, teachers were getting told, suck my dick. Like it's like it was ridiculous, and I guess it's some of the home trauma too. But like, growing up in high school, and even I got in trouble. So I remember this one story. I was in first grade, and I meant to call somebody a pussycat, like they were scared of something. But for some reason, the word cat just never came out of my mouth. So the teacher literally wrote me a fucking note, sent my ass on the bus, and like my mom had to call, and it was a whole thing. She's like, "How did you even know this word?" And I'm like, "I didn't even know what I was saying." Like it was the worst timing. I couldn't say. I meant to say pussycat. But then the teacher's reaction, like they went, "Oh, who said it?" And I'm like trying to say cat, but I can't. And I don't know. I just froze up, and it was one of the not most embarrassing, because I wasn't that good of a kid, but I think I was a little bit more behaved than the other kids. But yeah, that was one of the schools have definitely gotten different, and I think social media is a big proponent of that.
It's horrible.
My
People say
daughter's
stuff on whatever social media, Facebook, whatever, that you would just never say to somebody in person.
Ever.
You know, it would just not even. You might think it, but you would never verbalize it. But they're a keyboard warrior. And I've been threatened. In fact, I posted a video on some of the Reddit groups I'm on of our Halloween party. And I got like 9 emails slamming me for not wearing mask and being COVID safe and all this other stuff.
The flu. That's my biggest issue with this thing. It's a fucking flu, man. It's killed less than the flu. The flu kills babies. The kid, like the flu is a murderer, and we're still talking about COVID.
Yeah.
At work, they just started letting it. Like if you're vaccinated, you cannot. Like you don't have to wear a mask. And I'm like, it took us 14 fucking months to figure that out. Like, come on, we don't even need the vaccination. Literally, for everybody,
I immune system do their thing.
I don't explicitly say like what I work for, but the organization I work for is just like, it's ridiculous sometimes. I think it's literally an organization made up of men and women who are able-bodied, healthy, they are fit, and they range from the ages of 18 to 40 and up. So it's like, to think for 1 second that demographic would even fit the sickness is ridiculous to me.
I don't know where we stand now, but Jacksonville was the most was it physically fit community at one point in time since I've lived here. I don't know where we stand now, but we were a healthy community because of the military, you know. And so like we don't hit the demographics that would
at all.
That would
now. I'm gonna tell you now, since I've been working for the organization, I would say fitness has declined.
Yeah.
And I think it goes back to that saying, like, hard men create weak times create soft men create hard times, and it just recycles. So dude, we've got to be somewhere between the soft times and the weak men. I think there's too many blue-haired guys that are debating their gender, but I digress. I think and to get back to the social media, like, my comments are dry on my videos, so I really don't have too much of that. That's a luxury of not being that famous. But I think once everything starts, I'll have my bits, because I know, first of all, I clap back. I'll clap back instantly. If you got some shit to say, like, whatever, like, it's the Jersey in me. I'm not gonna just let it fly. That's my wife and I. Like, we're both very stubborn, so our arguments turn from like getting like stating what we need to say completely turns into like ego contests, and we're not talking to each other for like a week. I shouldn't say a week. I think the most we've gone is like 3 days, but like we're getting mad at each other. We're like there's absolutely no reason to close the trash can as hard as I did the other day because of an argument. But it's I don't know. It's ridiculous.
Well, like, if depending on who watches this, the comments about gay and jiu-jitsu and stuff like that, somebody will go off.
It'll hit up.
Yeah, that'll hit. Yeah, somebody like, I'm gay and I don't do jiu-jitsu, so that's not accurate. It's like, we get it.
I'm semi-gay. I've done everything except gay sex. No, I'm just kidding. And like, here's my biggest stance on it. Like, if you want to be gay, if you want to be bi, whatever, like, it doesn't affect me. If that's what you do, that's what you do. Like, that's how I've always been. I'll tell you what. I actually have a bit. Like, I thought racism was pretty rough. I grew up in a very black community, right? So like, I found myself, I'm the minority inside my school, right? So like, I could kind of see how, I guess, like, the cops treated people in my neighborhood. And one of the biggest things I noticed is, like, one, being a black person, black woman, black man, right? It's already hard enough. There were kids in high school that decided to be gay.
Yeah.
You're double entendreing yourself. And it's like,
they're born that way.
They were born that way. Yeah. And some of these motherfuckers, you could tell they were born that way. They had some sugar in their shit. I don't know what the fuck happened. But what was the best part is that the gay dudes were always the fucking funniest, because they would call teachers out. Like, the gay dudes kept it more real than a lot of the fucking straight dudes, because they didn't care. They were comfortable. They were like, I don't give a fuck. Yeah, so what? I suck dick. And it's like, whoa, we are in homeroom. It is 7:00 in the morning. Nobody needs to hear that right now.
Like, can you talk to my girlfriend a little bit, because she's not really into that.
Yeah.
You know, give her some tips.
God damn. You are eating Cheetos and a Monster right now. You might want to calm the fuck down. All right. You're all fucking charged up. Did you even do your homework tonight? They're like, no, I didn't do like gay shit. I'm like, see, everything. He fucking proved it, you know? No, but social media is such a big proponent, and I'm in the generation where it's kind of, we've now always had it. Facebook, I mean, since I can remember, Facebook was MySpace, middle school. I guess it was like middle school into high school. Like, social media has always now been a part of my life. And I can't even imagine what it's going to be like for my kids, because they're already like, they got tablets and stuff, and I have to like keep an eye on the fucking tablets.
I'm hoping that Elon Musk buys Facebook and shuts it down like he said he's going to.
I can't wait. And nobody's even on Facebook anyway. Like, that's another thing. And the only thing that'll happen is another app will come out, and then that'll be the new rave. Like, TikTok right now is on fire, and it's Instagram, but there's no pictures. That's it. That's all it is. It's messaging. Like, you can DM people, but I think what the real...
Well, yeah, I don't hit that demographics, because like I've seen posts that like if you're like over 30 years old, you should not be on TikTok. And it's like, okay, there's an age requirement now for social media.
There is like a whole group of older
really
TikTokers. Oh yeah. It's a big platform for comedians, because that's the way they get the younger audiences.
Sure.
So... I think as far as a marketing tool, maybe not necessarily to monetize on it. I think it's a really good way. I know for at least me, I'm able to work out skits. I'm able to work out like just ideas I have and see if it's funny. And one of the stupidest videos I have on TikTok right now is just me, like, it's an upward angle, and I just like recorded, you know, the videos where the kids will watch like other kids unwrap toys. Have you heard about this craze?
Yeah.
I literally, that's all I did, and I said the point of view was from the tablet, and I'm just pretending to be one of my kids, and I'm like rubbing on my nose like this, and I'm just watching it, right? And the POV is from the tablet, and in the thing I'm like, you know, welcome back to the YouTube channel, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Today we'll be watching a kid, watching another kid, watching another kid, watching another kid unwrap this toy. Thanks. Follow for more. And that's the one video I've got like 150 likes, 150,000 likes on it. Wow. It was one of the stupidest things I did on there. And like the skits where I'm like putting thought behind it, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna have a background in it, and I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna try and say this. Those are the ones it's like, yeah, 200 people watched it. Yeah, get the fuck out of here. You know, it's the stupid video. So it just goes to show you, it's all very stupid. It's, I guess, another form of entertainment. And I feel like that thing sucks me in too. Like,
sure.
Like, if I'm on Instagram,
is getting less and less and less.
Instagram is a fucking beast, because I just got a new Defender. I'm looking at a bunch of like Overlander pages and stuff, like cool like rigs for the Defender. I'm not even gonna fucking go anywhere with it. Like, North Carolina is one of the flattest states we have. What am I gonna fucking do? Go to the what's right here? The Appalachians? I guess maybe one day, but like not right now. I don't know why I'm like wasting my time. And that's just another thing, is the attention span. It's like so much easier just to scroll rather than like, I don't know, do college work that I'm supposed to be doing. You know? No, but to
you don't want to get me on college either.
I hate everybody. I think I'm gonna get my associates, and that'll be it. And that's just so I can like say I got at least a degree out of it, but I don't think I'm going to follow my bachelor's for it. I got too many other things I want to do, and it's taking up a little bit more time than I thought it would. So I would like to say, not only are you an instructor, you're a really great instructor, but you've also performed. So fighting, you've had how many professional?
Just one. One pro.
And
fight.
then how many amateur?
MMA for MMA. For back when I did Muay Thai.
Yep.
Nobody. It wasn't.
Yeah, there's no score count. Yeah.
There wasn't any.
Fighting every night. You're like, yeah, what the fuck's up?
And it was kind of funny because we would just go in like a 4-H barn at like a state fair kind of grounds, and I mean, people were there. It wasn't really a business per se. And every 3 months, we would just, whoever, we'd show up, and whoever was roughly in your weight class or whatever, you would fight.
Damn, so it was like dodgeball.
Yeah. And so it's like, all right. So, and so we did that like every 3 months.
Or maybe a Japanese bathhouse. I guess that might be a little bit. It's a little bit more erotic, I guess. But so it was literally like that. Like you. So it's like
actually my first MMA fight was like that.
No shit.
Yeah.
Because I'm a pretty dense dude. I don't look like I'm 205 pounds, but I am. Right. So I can't even imagine if you got somebody that's like Tyrone Woodley, where it's like, yeah, I weigh 175, but they're really like fucking walking around at probably 215.
Well, okay, my first fight is actually okay. So it was similar. It was in like a big ass barn, and that was in Virginia, and they have unified rules there. So like it's the same as UFC, even for amateurs. So I'm in line, and I have my paperwork, because you have to like join the whatever organization for $25, and then whatever the boxing, whatever. So you
is that just so you can kind of get insured?
What I don't even freaking know what their purpose was. Make it legal or something. I don't know. And so I'm waiting in line, and I'm talking to the guy in front. We're just casually talking, and I hear the guy behind me, and he's like, "Man, I hope they got a fight for me. I hope there's somebody in my weight." And I'm looking at the guy. I'm like, okay, well, everybody's in line, so yeah, I'm guessing. He's like, "Man, I've been training hard for this," and I'm like, oh, "Okay, that's good, man." He's like, "Man, I ran 3 miles this week, man. I'm ready to go." What? And I went, I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "You ran 3 miles this week, and you're ready to fight?" I'm like, "I think you're in the wrong line, brother."
Just dropped. I said, "What?"
And I'm like, do you train? Do you do martial arts? He's like, "Yeah, I'm a street fighter, and I've been in a bunch of." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And sure enough, he got a fight, and I think I could be. I'm within 10 seconds here. I think it lasted like 25 seconds. Might have been 35, but I mean, they came out. He put his hands up. The guy hit him again, dropped to the ground, got on top, hit him a couple times. Referee stopped it.
Yeah.
And
no shit. That's kind of like the Ben Askren fight last weekend. Did you see that? Jesus Christ. That's probably the guy. Ben looked like he literally didn't fucking prepare one bit. I've never seen somebody look like a sack of potatoes. Yeah, he literally looked like a bag stuffed with potatoes. True. It is just a payday.
Yeah.
Maybe he's some fucking CTE on the side, but Jesus. Yeah, and all his posts, back to the social media thing, all his posts, he was clowning. And I watched this show. It's the Food Truck Diaries with Brendan Schaub. He was a heavyweight fighter in the UFC, and now he's a stand-up comedian, and he essentially does a lot of Showtime stuff. But he had Ben on. He's like, "Here's the thing. If Jake Paul knows how to box, I'm fucked. I already know that. I'm fucked. I'm gonna get knocked out. But if he doesn't, it's fine. I'm good." And I think just like the Masvidal fight, he walked away with it, and he was just like, "All right, whatever. I mean, I got paid, whatever. It is what it is. There's nothing I can change now." So that's pretty funny. That literally is like a similar story, and it's still playing out. Yeah. Except Ben Askren's a fucking Olympian and world champion, minus the street brawler.
Yeah, that wasn't
who fucking size your ass up. No.
But that's not the only one. I mean, I got a ton of stories of people like that have no clue of anything, that don't train, but for some reason think that they'll do well in the cage. And again, it lasts like 30 seconds, under a minute for sure.
No way.
And
I know
you can't do that. No. You couldn't do it. I mean, I guess you could when it all started, but if you went against somebody that trained, you didn't have any hope.
Yeah.
I mean, it just, it's like if you go to a Jiu Jitsu tournament and you're a karate guy, you're going to lose. There's just no, I mean, you will lose.
It's like some of the UFC guys that like will kind of sit on their butt against the strikers, and they're like, "Come on, come to my guard, come on." And they're like, "No, you stand up," and then you're at a fucking stalemate, and the ref's like, "All right, boys, let's keep it working."
That kills me. That's stupid. I think it's stupid on both parties, but I think it's stupid for the guy that's standing up to say, "Stand up, get back on your feet." I would just keep hitting you.
Yeah.
And in fact, that's my philosophy. I mean, if they're going, "Come on, get in my guard," I'm like, if you can get me in your guard, I'm just going to keep kicking your legs all day. And if we go the whole round that way, then we go the whole round that way. And I've had fighters that have done that and won.
And that's very wishy-washy too, because a lot of the refs, I don't know where you stand on this, but I guess if there's a stalemate, I can understand. Like if there's no forward progression, stand them up. I guess reset because there's nothing happening.
Sure.
But I think I've got to imagine if you're somebody who's a slow starter, Kamaru Usman, right? Like somebody who's, I guess, they're withering their opponent like down. They're just wearing them out. It's like I feel like it should be against the rules to stand them up. Like let them work, you know.
If they're working, then for the most part, the guideline is about 15 seconds or so. If there's no action, then stand them up. If they're against the cage and there's no action, then separate them. Now, there was a UFC fight that was in Pennsylvania. At the time, it was considered the worst fight in UFC history. And they had a number of competitors that figured out, they're playing the rules. And they were wrestlers. They would just pin the guy up against the cage and they would hold him there and nothing would happen. So you'd go around of them hugging each other and the guy throws a couple, but the guy that's pushing the other guy against the cage, he's the aggressor, so he's winning. Yeah. So all he's got to do is hold you there and didn't get hit, didn't get taken out, nothing. And easy money. And they won and so they're like, okay, we can't have that anymore. Mm-hmm. And so that's where they came. Okay, if there's no action, then break them up.
But people forget also it's an entertainment too.
Right.
As much, it's not like it's an Olympic sport. It's not like countries are competing. It is entertainment at its core value, right? Or at least at its core, maybe not necessarily the value, but I think the companies want exciting fights because that's going to make more money for the company.
Sure,
so I think
that's it. Like you're talking about the Olympics. Yeah. So like wrestling. In fact, I think wrestling is not in the Olympics anymore.
I can't remember. I know Jiu Jitsu is, so if they're just switching up the ground game.
But nobody went to the wrestling matches, so they're like, okay, we're not making any money, so nobody was interested in wrestling. Now,
literally
in
one
judo,
of the first forms of sport ever created.
Yep. And then like judo, the flashy part of that is the throws. Yeah. So then they get all these collegiate wrestlers that are doing like double leg takedowns and winning. And judo is like, oh, well, we can't have that anymore because people aren't watching. They want to see the big throws. Yeah. And so they like, okay, you're disqualified if you touch the legs. And so now in judo,
it's literally
you can't
the
touch
collar
the legs.
And wrist grip.
You just got to do throws. And I mean, you could trip, but you can't use your hands to grab the legs to do stuff anymore. And so that makes it more dynamic, but that also ruins careers for guys that are wrestlers, that I got to change all stuff. Yeah. It's kind of like Taekwondo. A lot of tournaments they'll give like 2 points if you kick to the head, 1 point to the body. If you're in the air and you kick and score, then you get 3 points. Stuff like that.
So the flashy stuff gives
the
more
flashy
points.
stuff, and so that's why you see all these people jumping and spinning and doing all this stuff. And it is cool. Yeah.
There's a guy that fights in Bellator. I forget what his name is. Oh, he's a light-skinned dude. I just saw his highlight reel the other day. I know he's super famous. God damn it. Is it Johnson? Andrew Johnson?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, damn. I can't remember. Anthony Johnson? Either way, this dude, like, I think he did a, 360. It was supposed to be a kick. The guy was prepping for a kick. And then...
spin the second time.
Yep.
And got him.
Spinning with the second time, overhand right. Yeah. And just drops this dude. One of the craziest things. I'm trying to get my spin game up.
It's funny because like when I started, spinning was bad. If you did a spin kick, then you don't do that because you're exposed your back, and that you're weak, and they can do this and they can do that.
Catch you mid-air as you're spinning,
and you didn't kick below or above the waist because it's too easy for somebody to grab your kick and that. So there's a lot of it's kind of funny to see how the martial arts have evolved in that, and then people will make arguments about certain stuff that's not their own thought. They heard it from someplace else, and now they're just regurgitating it because if you think it through, and I've been guilty of this because one of my first instructors, he would say like, karate, it's a lazy man sport. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's not too lazy because I'm getting my ass kicked all the time. And he's like, because it should just take one technique. If you get in a fight, it's just one technique and it's done. You should know what you're doing and just it's in. And I'm like, okay, it made sense. If I knew karate and you don't and whatever, we get in a fight, okay. And then I watched the first UFC and I'm like, I don't think one technique's going to do it.
Yeah.
I'm like, and then as the UFC progressed and like people get knee to the head and stuff and they keep going, I'm like, okay, that was all bullshit. I'm like, so I'm glad I didn't get in a fight in that time frame, because I would like hit somebody, they would have went, shouldn't have done that.
Now the calf kicks are coming. Calf kicks have, here's the thing. Calf kicks have been in the UFC forever. That's not a new fucking thing. People are just implementing them a little bit more. Like Edson Barbosa had one of the fastest fucking it was either the leg kick or the spinning heel kick. He was quick as fuck. And these are not new techniques. They're just new because people are employing them into their game.
Well, and part of it's marketing, or like the one that made the calf kick, he just did it a lot. Yeah. You know, and like, okay, like the mirror arm bar. Okay. And nothing against Frank Mir. I mean, but that was around long before he did it. Long before he did it. Yeah.
1912, actually.
What's that?
1912.
So there's just pick a technique that somebody has a name for because they made it famous. Yeah. It was done long before. There's not too many moves that are brand new.
I have to say my favorite like technique name would have to be the Diesel Squeezel.
The Diesel Squeezel.
Yeah,
I'm not familiar with that.
It's the knuckle choke from, so like when you grip around the neck, so like I have the neck in and I squeeze their arm against the on this side. It's essentially just like a head and arm triangle, or an arm triangle, sorry. But then you're just using your knuckles on the other side of the carotid. And it was actually Aaron was the one that showed us that. It was either Aaron or Nate. And they said, all right, today we're working the Diesel Squeezel. And I went, I'm for sure never forgetting this thing because of the fucking name. And he actually catches me with it all the fucking time because my big stupid head is always in the way. He's really good at the guillotines. So we talked a little bit about your fight career. How is it mentoring fighters now active? I'm sure you've been doing it for a very long time, so it's nothing new. But I guess in new climate, right? Like I would imagine the fight game's probably changed a little bit.
It has. When I was, I had a pretty decent team and guys that went pretty far with it, and it's the community back then, and it wasn't. I mean, I'll say 10 years ago, maybe longer. They weren't good people. Yeah. And I noticed that my school.
You're saying character-wise.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I have a friend that. Yep, I had a friend that owns a promotion, and he's a very wealthy individual, and so he bought a warehouse, and he made his own like little school, but it's specifically like for his fighters that he would use all the time for his promotions. And yeah, they taught classes and stuff, but it wasn't really a business. He had 28 guys that were on his rolls. At one time, 26 of the 28 guys were ex-cons.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, so there was times that he had to bail people out of jail to go to the fight.
Holy shit.
And and not judging anybody or anything like that.
Yeah, I don't think that's the point that you're getting at.
Yeah, it's the character, and if those are all the people that you hang around, you become who you hang around.
Yeah,
so like for example, the school, I had a couple hundred students, and then I really got into MMA and for myself, and then for the MMA fighters, and we had about 15 fighters, and then most of them were karate students back then, and I started to notice that went from like 200 students to like 170 to like 150 to like 100, and I got down to 28 students.
Holy shit.
And now my teaching the classes didn't change. I still taught the same front kick. I still had the same humor. I still did all this stuff. But the atmosphere and all the people they just weren't great people. Yeah. And some of those guys are in jail now.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And when I got to that low.
Yeah, so were you, I don't want to say kicking them out, but you were just like, hey, or were you saying like their devotion to it, like they would get so wrapped up in their extracurricular activities that they would start disappearing or just stop showing up?
Oh, all the students, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh no, they just didn't like the atmosphere.
Yeah, okay.
Because okay, like an example, a big complaint that I had was prior to the classes, we had practice in that. So a bunch of guys that were just MMA shorts, so they don't have their rash guards or anything on. And so the kids would come in, and we didn't train smart. We were new to it, and we trained stupidly. Yeah. And so every day, every practice was full contact.
Yeah, there's a lot of studies that show that it's like, you only get a number of hits to the head, and I guess you don't want to do them during training.
Yeah, and so people would come in and see that, and they didn't want their 6-year-old see people get knocked out. Yeah. I had one guy that made it to the UFC, and every practice he'd knock somebody out. Wow. Every practice there was blood. And that's cool, whatever. Yeah, tough guys and stuff. But not for business, and not for moms bringing in the kids and stuff like that. So a bunch of other things happen, and just personal, like horrible stories that I went through the divorce, custody battle, and then losing the students, and then I got called back to active duty, and so financially I was just ruined and stuff, and then I got 28 students now, and I'm used to having like 200 250 students, and so when I got down to like low point, I'm like, okay, I got to change. And so I fired a bunch of students and fighters, and I started over again, and then I focused more on the karate and Jiu Jitsu, and not the MMA, and I got out of the MMA world for a while.
Little bit,
and then and it worked really good. I got up to, again, like I think we had over 500 students at one point, and then things changed.
Did some of those students stick with you, and they kind of dropped the MMA stuff as you did, or?
No, I fired them.
Oh wow.
Yeah, the ones that all the people that I hung around that were problems. I'm like, hey, okay, love you like a brother, but that's my business, and I'm just I gotta so don't take it wrong. It's I'm not insulting you. I'm not we didn't have arguments or anything like that. It's just like I'm going a different direction. And well, one of the guys is still at the school, so it's been 20 years he's been at the school, and we're great friends. Well, 20 years now. So, but everybody else kind of
dwindled off.
So,
as far as so I've had Chino on the show. Love him.
Chino's the one that got me back. Like I had no interest in doing the fight stuff. I had no interest in tournaments and any of that.
Were you? Was it more of like if he's gonna do it, I'd rather be there and make sure he's taken care of, or?
Oh man, he's got a cool story too. He's come a long way. Yeah. So he ran into some problems with different gyms, and so he was a student of mine a long time ago. During that time frame. And he was not coachable. But which is kind of funny because he is now. But he came in not for himself, but his fiance or girlfriend at the time, she had a kickboxing fight coming up, a Muay Thai fight, and he asked if he can use the cage. So he wasn't trying to do classes or anything. He's like, hey, we come in to train? I don't have another place. And so I'm like, yeah, sure, come on in. And I had Christmas decorations on the cage because we had a photo shoot with Santa Claus. So I'm moving all that out of the way and trying to make
your seasonals.
Yeah,
we know your seasonals.
So then he was training her, trying to get her ready, and I saw some things that could possibly help out, and I couldn't not say anything. So then I help out a little bit, and then he took a fight, and he had lost a couple fights back to back, and then I paired him up with some people, and I just knew that there was fundamentals that were missing. And so I taught him a couple things and showed him a couple things, and then he asked me to train him for the fight. And so then trained him for the first fight, he won, and then trained him for the next one, and I won the title with that one, and then it's just kind of progressed, and he went from just working out with his girl in the cage to me and him working out, and then a couple people, and then he joined the classes, and then he helped out a little bit, and then he took over to kickboxing, and now he's helping out with the kids, so now he's full-time.
Yeah, his story's amazing.
It's come a long way.
It's crazy how much, like, sometimes you'll be like, no, I'm out, I'm fucking done. I feel like, I mean,
I had no interest, man.
Yeah.
The tournament stuff, no. I mean, Enrique got me into the tournament stuff. I had no interest in that.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, but you can make money and you could do this, and you could do that. I'm like, yeah, I don't need it. It's like, this weekend is our third tournament together.
I was gonna say it's the third one coming up. I'm still on the fence. I don't know if I should go out for it. It's not that I'm nervous or anything.
It's too late for this one.
Yeah, because it was by what, Friday?
Yesterday.
Yeah. Oh damn. Yeah, so I guess I'm not on this one, but I gotta go to the next one. Yeah.
August in Greenville Convention Center.
Greenville Convention Center. Is it the CXBJJ? That's the CXBJJ tournament. If you guys are in the Swansboro area, is it in Swansboro? Swansboro area. What's this weekend? The 24th, Saturday, 24th. Go ahead and get your tickets, or at least show up. But I really do want to start competing. Here's again, and we were kind of talking about this before the podcast. I'm like stretching myself too thin, so I'm like trying to stay consistent with my training, trying to stay consistent with the family life, and just kind of balancing all those things can become a thing. So what I love about if you just spin that the little gold part, it'll stick again. Yep. Nate always busts my balls when I come back in after a long layoff. He's like, oh shit. When Darren got his blue belt, he went on leave for like 3 weeks, and he said the joke. It was like a weekend. He's like, so I guess we just get our blue belt. We just don't have to come back in there. yeah. So, and I feel like that's how
that is the thing,
like though. Yeah, that's insane to me because I feel like I got my blue belt, but it's like now everybody's. I've said it on my podcast that like now it's just everybody's. Like all the white belts want to take your head off because they want to be able to tap the blue belt. And then 2, like realistically in the grand scheme of things, you're still relatively new to jiu-jitsu. I've only been doing it 2 years now. Like there are still so many things I want to learn. And the fact that is a statistic, I know. And there's so many things I want to like get better at. And I got to drill. I got mats in the garage. Like I'm thinking about redoing my whole garage setup. I want to get a heavy bag so I can start practicing kicks. I want to get one of the dummies so I can start drilling with those in the morning. But it's just like there's so much I want to learn and I want to get good at, and it's insane to me that people will literally cut their training off like, oh, got a belt, all right, I'm out, like, and then that's the coattail they'll ride, like, yeah, I'm a blue belt jiu-jitsu, like, you're supposed to say that for the rest of your life, dude? It's like, just say you're a martial artist.
Oh, I can't even tell you. Back even before jiu-jitsu and MMA was a thing, the karate thing was brown belt, and everybody that I met that did karate, I got my brown belt, and I'm like, okay, so why'd you quit? I mean, you're one belt away. I mean, why? And they're like, oh. And then the excuses. Yeah. Oh my God!
I was so
I can't even tell you.
Just like, yeah, whatever.
Here, these are the excuses are hysterical. So like some of them are like, I didn't want to register my hands. There's lethal weapons. I'm like, that was a movie. Yeah, that was a freaking movie, dude. There's no. You don't go to you get your black belt and then the cops show up and you got to sign something and say. I mean.
It's just Steven Seagal said that, I think.
But that was that is ridiculous. And then
that was a line I used to fucking say when I was a kid.
Yeah,
it's like, I'm a fucking black belt. I used to fucking say that to people. I didn't know. Goddamn, you would have punched me in my fucking nose. I would have been like crying immediately. That would have been me. It's ridiculous.
That was one. I had one guy tell me that. Well, in order to get my black belt, I didn't think it was right what they were having people do. And I'm like, what's that, man? And he's like, well, you had to fight like 10 other black belts and back to back with no break. And you had to beat all of them in order to get your black belt. I'm like, yeah, there's no system that does that.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a thing.
Yeah.
And now I had one guy say that the black belt test is they put you in a room, turn off the lights,
and Play-Doh's in my mouth.
And no, that was I got a different story for that one. No, and then you had to fight people in the dark that
low
were
light
black
conditions.
Yeah,
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Yeah, that's not.
If you want
thing.
the black belt, you're gonna fight black out. Turn the lights.
But the excuses were incredible. I've met so many people that, and then when MMA became a thing, everybody was a fighter. And so I'm at a bar here in Jacksonville, and a guy comes up to me. He's like, "Oh, you own this school?" I'm like, "Yeah, I own this school." And he's like, "Oh, I used to fight." I'm like, "Oh, really? Where'd you fight?" He's like, "Oh, right here." And this was when it was illegal in North Carolina.
Yeah.
So there was no MMA in North Carolina. And he would tell me all these fights that he had. He gave me his records and stuff like that. I'm like, you do know that you could look all that stuff up nowadays, right? It's online. And then he would tell me about. I'm like, well, that's all kind of. So was this underground? Was this all? He's like, no, it was. I'm like, well, it's illegal here. So how'd you get away with it?
Yeah.
And because like I'm in the business. Yeah. And I've never heard.
You don't think the man that owns the fight school would know about fight schooling? Jesus fucking Christ! Yeah, they watched Fight Club too many times. They were
here's a good one. I'm at home on whatever Friday night, Saturday night, whatever it was, and I'm actually watching the UFC fight, so probably Saturday. And I get a call from one of the students, and they're like, "Hey, Sensei, it's good to see you here." And I'm like, "Okay, I'll bite. What do you mean, good to see you here?" They're like, "Well, I'm at Sharpshooters," and I'm like, "Yeah, and they're like, "And you're here," and I'm like, "Okay, explain." Yeah. And they're like, "I just got your business card." I'm like, "Okay, cool." And I'm like, "What's going on?" Yeah. And they're like, "Well, you're here going to each table, passing out your business card, telling everybody that you're James Wright, you own the school, and you're looking for students." And I'm like, "I'm there right now." And he's like, "Yep, going table to table." I'm like, "I'm on my way." And by the time I got there, whoever it was gone. Yeah. But some guy got my business cards.
Holy shit.
And was walking around telling people that he was me.
Jacksonville are insane. I was at the Angry Orchard, that's what it is, right? Angry Ginger, right there by the fucking school. Me and my buddies were just having a fucking beer. We're at one of the high top tables, and this dude, we could see him lurk. I just gleeked. We could see him lurking at the bar. He only orders water, right? And I see him, and then my boy's like, "Yo, what the fuck is this dude's like issue?" He's got sweatpants on, but they're like the weird joggers, so they're super tight at the bottom. He's got them below his knee, right? He's all like sweaty, and he comes up to us and he's like, "Hey, what are you guys drinking? What are you guys drinking?" I'm like, "Oh, this dude's he's got to be coked out." He's like, "What are you guys drinking?" And he's like fidgety, and I'm like, "Oh, Jesus Christ, it's about to be one of these nights." And then he out of nowhere goes, "Yeah, well, last night I was here," and immediately goes on this fucking rant, just yelling at. I mean, this place is full, right? But it's like quiet enough. It's like dinner time. It's quiet enough to where this motherfucker is the only one speaking, right? Everybody shuts up, and he goes, "I found jizz in my mom's drink yesterday," and slams the table, and then immediately we just see the waitresses come out of the back. They're like, "Bill," or whatever his name is, like, "We told you yesterday that wasn't whatever you think it is. It wasn't spit." And like, so this has already been a fucking thing. And he's ranting and raving. He's like, "I just get back from fucking deployment, and this is what I come home to." And I'm thinking I'm gonna have to fucking drop this dude, because like he's talking to me. I'm sitting at a table with like 5 other dudes.
Because you were with his mom.
I'm fucking his mom, I guess. No. He fucking, and he's like targeting, I guess he was just saying it to the table, but I happened to be the one that was like at the end of the table. So I was going to be the one that had to, I was already thinking like, all right, am I going to have to fucking double leg this dude and just have to hit, like, I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do. And he's ranting and raving, and like you can see the bartender and the cooks behind. They're like, the cook comes out and he goes, "I didn't fucking do it," and it's just like this fucking insane situation. And like now, like the table next to us, we're like, "What?" And like they're like,
"Welcome
damn,
to
what
Jacksonville."
y'all do? And I was like, "Can somebody put that in my drink? Like I want to be what the fuck he's on, you know?" And then my buddy and I, we go outside. Of course, this motherfucker drives a Prius. He just skirts off, and he's skirting off in the fucking Prius, all angry and shit. He almost runs the red light. It was insane to me that it was so unwarranted, the volume he had for no reason. But a lot of, dude, I can't even imagine what it would be like getting caught saying you're like a fucking fake. That's like when I first came to the school, and the first question Nate asks is, "Do you have any prior training, or like, you know, do you have any experience in, you know, martial arts?" I like specifically said that like, nope, starting from the beginning. He's like, not even in like the place you work. And I'm like, I mean, I have that, but I don't count it. Like the last thing I wanted to do was like boast about my organization's like martial arts program, because we don't do it nearly as not like everybody says it's stupid and it doesn't work. I'm like, nah, it's not stupid. We don't train it enough. If we repped at it, where that was a part of your weekly schedule,
it's a check in the box system.
Yeah, it's for promotion.
Like do this move.
Yep.
Check. And it's not a practical app, and so that's the downside of it. And I get the, I mean, because I'm an instructor, so I get you got to come up with a curriculum that train somebody that's never done anything athletic, that's underage, that the mom and dad had to sign them to get into the service, and then you got to have something for that person, and that could be whatever weight, and you got to have somebody like graduating from Annapolis that's coming in, that's a phenom
Still
athlete,
has to be stimulated by the program itself.
So I mean, like you have to have a program, a curriculum that has that for everybody, which is difficult to do, and then to get any talent out of it in the way that it's, I don't want to say in the way that it's taught, but in the way that I guess it is in the way, not the individual instructor, but the way that it's presented and done. Like you get your belt when you do this, and then you don't see it again for 2-3 years, and then you got to come up and do this 2-week course, and and then
since I got my black belt in it, I haven't fucking done it.
Yeah,
it's been forever. And then the one thing I do like though, like your instructor cert for that is annual, so you have to do that annually in order to keep it, which I think is a really good idea to keep the instructors smart, but the instructors also aren't getting instructor trainers to keep them sharp. So a lot of things get, like, I don't want to say overlooked, but I think it's a flawed system. They're
checking the box.
Yeah, exactly. It's definitely meant for. I didn't realize how this thing was. I think it's more of a promotion thing now than a form of art that can save your life.
Yeah.
I guess that was some of the stuff that Xander taught at Warrior. No, you were there for the weapon stuff. I was thinking of the weapons and knives course that was the week before it or 2 weeks before it. Wasn't there something that Xander was working on with Caitlin? I saw them.
Oh yeah, they were just Caitlin's actually badass with the blade.
Yeah.
She fenced in college and that, and so that converts pretty well.
Yeah.
And
it's a lot of like just closing the distance, backing out of the distance, a lot of footwork.
And so like the first time we did a knife class, we put lipstick on the blades, and everybody had a white T-shirt, and she sparred afterwards, and there's people like just red marks everywhere, all over their face, all over. I mean, just like funny. She just trashed everybody.
Yeah, that's insane.
And then I came out with the stun knives. Yeah. And so they had the little electric thing, so you touch it. And,
so is it just a drive taser, or is it like the end of it is like hollowed out? And... The blade edge around it. Okay. So if it touches it, I mean, it gives you a little shock, but I mean, like, I can hold it on, and you can be like, oh yeah, this sucks. Yeah. It's, it's like touching one of those weird orbs or whatever.
Yeah, it's not going to knock you on the ground or anything. But you'll know.
Yeah, tasers are a little sensitive in the country right now.
Yeah. Yeah, these ones are would be cool though. That would actually, I don't know if they would be able to use those to do anything, but it would be funny
if they up the voltage. But
but
we don't want them to mistake the real thing, you know.
She's good with them though, and I have fun with that. They were just training just to do a video and stuff like that. But
yeah, I was Warrior Weekend happened to be the weekend we were moving in, so I was missing I think I missed a couple of classes on Saturday that I was pissed about, because that was the stuff that I hadn't done before, and I had to leave early, and it's just been a fucking thing. But so as far as business has to be booming in Jacksonville. So with JBM, is that a sister school, or do you also own that?
I own it with Nate.
Oh, awesome. So, that makes sense. That makes total sense. I haven't even asked you guys about this, because I know Nate goes to JBM Tuesdays, Thursdays. Yeah. So that's why he's been gone. I always knew he was going to JBM, but I didn't know what the system was. That's awesome. So you have two schools, and you're covering, I would say, that's 60, 70 miles. Mm-hmm. And they're both doing really well. That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thanks.
from somebody who is, I guess, not so successful, but will be successful one day. I'm taking note from you. Yeah, that's got to be. So it was my first time at the school for Warrior Weekend. That was my first time I had trained there, and it was a fucking blast. I loved it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I love the setup there.
Cool. Good.
The one thing I do want to get, I want to ask Val about is possibly doing the cage fit class with a little bit more weight. I want to see if we can up the weights with some of that stuff, weights and intensity. But I gotta talk to her about it because I know I kick my own ass in that class because it'll just be like calf raises, and you're like. And then I'm trying to do high knees and stuff like that. So, but both of your schools create really cool environments. I really wanted to make sure I said that to your face. I love training at your schools. Everybody I've spoken to loves training at your schools. I think the environment is just amazing.
Appreciate that. I've because of the bad experiences that I've had, I try not to fit into the whole kind of cult aspect of I'm going to improve my game. I'm going to improve my that kind of thing. And I'm a martial artist. I'm not a jiu-jitsu guy. I'm not a karate guy. I know I get introduced by some people as, oh, he's Wright. He's the karate guy. Other people like, oh, that's Professor Wright. He's a jiu-jitsu black belt. And I get all the different. I'm a martial artist. I love it all. Yeah. When people say, what's the best martial art to train in?
All of them.
It's like, well, what do you like?
Yeah.
So like, if you ask me, like, what is the best martial art to train in to do MMA?
Yeah.
Okay, then there's specific things, with that.
Probably need some wrestling, probably some kickboxing.
You got to be able to strike. And like if you did Muay Thai and you did Jiu Jitsu or wrestling, then you can make it. You can do okay. If you did karate and no wrestling, no Jiu Jitsu, that's not gonna work for you.
Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, though, I mean, he's still. I don't know if I've seen any of his sprawls or anything like that, but Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, he's the tall white blonde dude. Yeah. I think he's a karate background.
Oh, there's a bunch of karate people. George St. Pierre,
he's a
Kyokushin guy. But he also trains with the U.S. and Canadian wrestling teams. I mean, and besides any black belt jiu-jitsu guy he wants to train with.
Exactly.
And Machida, they started with karate and that, and they still practice it, but I mean, they're black belts in jiu-jitsu too. They had the striking art and they had the grappling art. But like, if you enjoy Tai Chi and that's the way you like to exercise and do stuff, then that's the martial art for you. Yeah. All right. Now, if you say, "Oh well, I do combat Tai Chi, and that's my self-defense," I'd be like, "Oh, you might want to think that."
Does that exist?
That exists, unfortunately.
Isn't the Tai Chi like the very slow? It's kind of like
it's typically
yoga
what
with
you
movement,
see,
right?
Yeah, you typically see older people in movies doing it and stuff like that. But I mean, it's a good it's an exercise.
Gets you moving.
Yeah, and there's all kinds of benefits
it's
from
like
it.
But
don't
slow down.
Don't pretend that you're gonna go get in a
combat
fight. Yeah, I mean just and I can't even tell you. I've taken the seminars and long before I did jiu-jitsu. Yeah. And the master. And I was like a young, 25-year-old, black belt in karate. Yeah. Couldn't do anything with me, and I didn't know shit. Yeah. And but he was the grandmaster, and
did he have the long mustache? Did he?
Actually, one of them did.
Hell yeah. That's the only way. I've been waiting for yours to grow out.
Yeah, I can't have facial hair. My wife doesn't like it.
Yeah. My wife hates my mustache too. I got a fucking nice mustache. I can only grow it when I'm gone for months at a time. So it's the only time I can grow it. She's like, get that fucking thing off your face. Because if you guys can't imagine, my eyebrows, but just like double it, thicken it, and I'm either I'm Chaplin or I'm Hitler. There's no in between, Or maybe a Selleck. I guess I could be a Tom Selleck at times, but
no, it wasn't that full. Hitler probably.
Yeah. Well, Jim, I appreciate you coming out. I know it's late night record, so thank you so much again. If there's anything you want to pass, camera's all yours.
Well, you did want to know the how I got started. You want me to?
Yeah, for sure.
Because this is it's a funny story. Hindsight.
Yeah.
Wasn't funny.
Retrospect. Yeah.
At the time. So I I'm riding my bike home. I'm like 13 years old, and I hear this screaming, and coming out of this building. So I race my bike over there, and I go in the door, and I'm expecting something to happen, and I see all these people doing karate. I'm like, oh, it's a karate. And I thought like there was some like
somebody getting beat up or somebody's getting hurt. Yeah.
And so I'm like, oh, I watched this movie when I was like 7 or 8 years old called The 5 Deadly Venoms. Okay. And I always wanted to do martial arts. And like every Saturday, there's Chinese Kung Fu theater that I watched 2:00 every Saturday. So I was into martial arts back then. My dad was did some Kung Fu, so he taught me some stuff. But so I always had the interest. So now I'm 13, and there's a school, and it's literally almost across the street from my house.
Oh no shit!
And there's just a little sign on the Kempo Karate.
Never noticed.
That was it. It was in a Masonic lodge, and it was Tuesdays, Thursday nights for 2-hour classes. And so I go in, and I'm like, holy cow, it's karate. And so I race home. Mom, can I do karate? It's across the street. And so I go back and I'm watching class. Instructor comes over, and he tells me that he's not taking any new students. And I'm like, okay, well, when are you going to take new students? And I didn't know the process. I didn't know how to sign up. It's not like, nowadays you have an introductory class and all this stuff. And so he's like, I'm not taking any students for 3 months. And I'm like, okay, I'll wait. I'm like, can I watch classes until you're ready? And he's like, yeah, I guess. And he didn't think I would sit and watch classes. So Tuesday and Thursday.
You were there watching classes. I was there.
Class. They would do kata. I would go in a parking lot, practice. I'd come back, learn the next move. Go in the parking lot, practice. Come and learn the next move. And so 3 months go by. I already know a couple of the forms, and I know some of the sparring combination. And I'm like, okay, it's been 3 months. Can I start now? And I could tell. I remember the facial expressions, and he was, not wanting me to. And he's like, yeah, I guess you can start.
He's like reluctant.
And so I sign up. I come to my first class, and they didn't sell gis or anything like that, so I had to go. I went on, got a Black Belt magazine, and in that Asian World Martial Arts had an advertisement, and they had a ninja outfit, and so I bought the ninja outfit, and the pants has the belt attached to it.
Oh shit!
And it's a black belt. Okay, I didn't know belts. I didn't know any of this stuff, right? So I walk into my first class.
Black belt.
And he looks at me. He's like, where did you get the belt? I'm like, it's part of the uniform. And he's like, what do you mean? He's like, cut it off. And I'm like, do you got a knife or scissors? I'm like, and then I'm trying to think, how's it going to stay on?
Yeah.
And so he gives me a white belt, and I tie the black belt, and I tuck it into the pants and that, and put the white belt on. And so he already doesn't like me. Of course, I didn't know that.
Because you were saying you were a black belt. No.
Yeah. And so I start training, and I get the shit beat out of me.
Yeah.
And then a couple years go by, and I'm getting the shit beat out of me. And behind my back, they called me Ninja Jim.
Oh, shit.
So now I'm 13 years old, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just taking classes Tuesday and Thursday, and I'm getting beat up all the time. And I'm just thinking everybody's getting beat up, and it's just class. It's normal to me. So like I went to my junior prom with 2 black eyes because my instructor beat me up. No joke. Oh, we're sparring and 2 black eyes, and so all this stuff. Now, fast forward, I'm 35 years old. And I'm at a black belt dinner with all of the Kempo guys that were still into it, all the grandmasters and all that stuff. And they're like, do you know the story of Ninja Jim? I'm like, Ninja Jim? And they're like, yeah, that's you. I'm like, what do you mean, Ninja Jim? And they're like, that's what we used to call you because you came in your first class and you were wearing that ninja outfit, so we called you Ninja Jim. And Master Genovese, Dan Genovese, he was the owner and the instructor. He told everybody he didn't like me because I came in by myself, wasn't with the parents. He thought I was some thug kid or whatever, which is really odd because I was like Boy Scouts, and, Cub Scouts, and but he didn't whatever. But I was just excited that there's a karate school, and he took me the wrong way or whatever, and so he didn't like me. So he told there's like 5 guys that were there consistently that would outrank me, and that obviously that were like the main staples of the school. He's always had about 20-25 students, but they would just cycle through every month. Somebody joined, somebody quit, and but there's 5 of them that kind of stayed with it. and he told them to make me quit.
Oh shit.
So
you endured.
They beat the shit out of me all the time. So now I'm going for.
You're tongue in cheek at this fucking thing, like, are you son of a bitch?
So they're like, I think you were going for like green belt or maybe it was something like that. You had been there for like 3 years, and we just got done beating the shit out of you, and you just kept coming. And he goes, I remember going to Master Genevieve's, and he's like, what do you want us to do? Because I don't think he's going to quit. Yeah. And well, you've been there 3 years, you know. Yeah.
Like, if I would quit, I would have quit already.
Yeah. And so that was the Ninja Gym story.
Gym.
And
I might have to name this episode that. Inside Us with Ninja Gym.
Oh, it gets better. So I learned all this stuff, right? So now it's a joke with our little community. Now I went to this martial art convention in Vegas. After the convention, I get on a plane, and for whatever reason, the way we booked stuff, Mary wasn't sitting next to me.
Yeah.
And so I sit down, and this guy comes up, and he's like, I think that's my seat. And I'm like, okay. So I get up so he can sit there. And I'm like, you're Stephen Hayes. And he's like, yeah, that's what my license says. And I'm like, you're like the first American ninja. Yeah. And he's like, yep. And I'm like, that's cool. I'm Ninja Jim.
Yeah.
And so now
So did you have to tell him the whole story?
And oddly enough, a couple months prior to that, I was talking to the editor of Black Belt, MA Success magazine. Well, actually, he's the editor of Black Belt magazine as well. Back then, he's passed away. But he was asking me how I got started, told him the Ninja Gym story. Yeah. And then he was writing an article about the school, about having a school in a military town. And so I thought that's what the article was going to be, about having a school in a military town. Yeah. And
that's the one that's posted above the water fountain, right?
And then within that has the Ninja Gym story. So I have the magazine because it just came out at that convention. And so Stephen Hayes, the first American ninja, is sitting next to me.
Did he sign it? Did you get him to sign it?
No, I didn't even think of it.
Oh, wow. You could have had the Ninja Gym story signed by the first ninja.
For 4 hours, I got to hear his stories and stuff.
That's amazing.
Which is even goes on from there. So I'm like, how did you become a ninja? I mean, like, just because that just didn't, nobody even knew what a ninja was. We thought it was just a story or whatever. And he's like, well, I was a black belt in Taekwondo. And I got sick of all the political stuff in the area. Like, my Taekwondo is better than your karate, and your karate is this, and everybody just are, all the bullshit stuff that the schools go through. And he's like, I was reading a James Bond novel and talked about this town in Japan where James Bond learned how to be a ninja. And he goes, so I took the book and got on a plane. I went to Japan, and I went to the town, and I started going to store and just asking people.
Just looking for ninjas.
Just looking where the ninjas are. And everybody thought I was freaking crazy.
If he was in Chicago, he would have got shot.
He goes, I don't speak Japanese, and I'm just pointing, where do I find the ninja? Then he comes across this lady. I know that guy, and went to school with my daughter. So she calls up the guy's mom that is in the book and arranges a meeting with him. And so the guy comes and meets him, like, what do you want to? He's like, I want to be a ninja. And he's like, what? And now at that point in time, the Japanese did not like Americans. Not saying that they do now, but they definitely didn't then. And
it was probably a little too soon.
Yeah. And so Stephen Hayes, he's like 6'3" probably. So he's this tall white guy from America, doesn't speak Japanese, wants to be a ninja because of his James Bond book. And so the guy's like,
that's the story of my life.
Okay, he's like, okay, let me think about this. So he takes him to the camp that he goes to every weekend. The guy's parents and family didn't know he was a ninja. Just knew that he did stuff with something on the weekends. And so he started training there, and they beat the shit out of him all the time for the year that he was there. And then he'd leave because his visa would run up, and then he would come back whatever time frame he could, and he would go train again. And then 30 years later, he's at a dinner, and he finds out that nobody liked him. They just wanted to see if their shit really worked against a big guy, because they're all 5'4", 5'6", and they're like, we keep beating the shit out of him,
and he keeps coming back.
So they're evolving their game too.
Yeah. So I'm like, you are kidding me. You have the same story as me.
And, dang, that's fucking hysterical too. I can't think of any other situation because your school is definitely not like there's no like ringing the bull like we're gonna make people quit. That's hysterical. Damn, I can't even imagine going through that. And you don't even know what the fuck they're saying. They could literally just be talking to each other like, "Fuck this guy." And that secret for you, that had to have been so hard for everybody to be like, "Yeah, no, like." It's all right, Jim. We'll catch up with you. We'll grab some drinks later. And you're like, come on, guys. Like, let's we just trained. Let's go have some like dinner or something. And they're all like, yeah, I wish I could. Damn, that's fucked up. Have you ever tried putting that into a movie? That's definitely a movie.
Actually, I wrote a screenplay, but it's on the pancreation stuff.
That's fucking
we are
great.
Trying to.
That'd be great.
Actually, one of my friends wrote it. That's what he does for a living, and we're trying to sell it now. It's my concept. My ideas, and it was finished like a year ago, and then COVID hit, and then just.
Are you watching Mortal Kombat this weekend? It's on HBO.
It's on HBO.
HBO Max. Yep. Yeah. So if you get HBO Max. I think it's like $14 and they release stuff. So like Kong, Justice League, they'll release them. I think for the month it streams, and I think as theaters come back, they're opening the theaters back.
I gotta watch it because we have two of the Mortal Kombat guys coming.
Yeah.
So one of them's coming on the first, and one at the end of the month or whatever.
Hell yeah.
And they're in the original Mortal Kombat, and they're not allowed to say what they're doing in the new one.
Yeah.
So it'll be a surprise.
There could be a cameo. That's awesome. Because I know who's the guy that does Broly's voice.
Scorpion. Vic.
Magana?
Something like that. I always forget his last name.
I got Broly right up there. I gotta ask him how he feels about the.
So like I don't know who this. Okay, which one?
Broly's one with the blue hair. They just they like rebooted that story. In a new movie. I want to ask him.
Okay, Chris Casamasas. He was Batman's stunt double in the George Clooney one.
Oh shit!
Yeah. So the guy that's going to be here at the end of the month.
Unfortunately, that's fucking amazing. He's my least favorite Batman. I think I have to say George Clooney.
I would agree.
My least favorite. It goes Michael Keaton. I like Val Kilmer's more than Christian Bale.
I like Christian Bale.
I think it was because I grew up with the Val Kilmer. We had one video for Batman on VHS, and it was Batman and Robin, Batman Forever, and I burnt that fucking VHS out. And I actually just saw it. I was at one of these. I think it was like one of the thrift stores, and I saw it on VHS. We don't even have a VHS machine here. I was gonna buy it out of principle because it was pure nostalgia to see that cover with like Jim Carrey and what's that dude's name? Who's the guy that played Two-Face?
Tommy
Lee Jones. Yeah. Yeah, that was my first time also seeing like.
Is that Uma Thurman was in that one too?
Uma Thurman was the Batman and Robin with George Clooney. That was with Schwarzenegger and Mr. Freeze.
Yep.
Yeah, Bane. They got Bane all wrong. Yeah, we don't talk about that movie. That's I don't know if you saw the Justice League theoretical version. I just did on my last episode like a review of Snyder's like 4-hour cut. I have to say I don't think it would be nearly as good as the movie as the 4-hour one is. If Snyder had cut that one that was supposed to happen in 2017, there was too much detail to go like pack in a 2-hour movie. Like,
I haven't seen it yet, but
gotta watch it. I know you're a comic book fan. You gotta watch it. It's good. Yeah. It's good. Did you see the Justice League that came out in 2017?
Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Think complete opposite of that.
Okay, that's good.
Complete opposite of that. And they reshot some scenes.
Okay, so then because DC hasn't really caught up to Marvel for some reason. Like there's a formula.
Yeah.
And they just haven't done the formula for some reason.
I don't know what it is. They I think, first of all, for Marvel to say that astronomical shit, like, we've been doing this since 2008. All right, motherfuckers, look, you guys released Iron Man, all right? Then you're like, oh, let's do the Hulk. Oh, then they started to team up shit. Yeah. So it was like, don't sit here and tell me, don't bullshit me. It wasn't since 2008. But I think what really did it for the DC universe is there's too many directors that aren't following the same canon, right? So like there should be one timeline, which is what Marvel has done. They've created that timeline. Like it started with Iron Man, and they have like Star Wars. Like they have this concise timeline. Those are the companies that really make it happen. And now that Zack Snyder's cut just came out, it's like there's a lot of fan theories to see if he'll come back for Justice League 2 or if he'll direct the new Man of Steel. But I think what happens is that Warner Brothers gets a hold of it. They try to market the fuck out of it, and they change the movie from the direction of the director, and then it just blows ass. Like Wonder Woman was good.
They tried to push it too fast, too soon, and just not thinking it out as much, which is amazing. Because I mean, you're talking like tens of millions of dollars, if not hundreds of millions, and I mean, like,
and they're flopping.
Yeah, and you would think flopping. Like, okay, just use that model and do the same.
Suicide Squad should have been a fucking home run. Oh, that was such a it's rated R. They're going to have Jared Leto's Joker from Batman vs. Superman in it, so it's like connected. It's like, dude, that should have been like toss, home run. And they fucked it up. I think it's Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers wants to have too much say. I think they just need to let the directors do what they want to fucking do. Because there's too many rewrites. Jim Lee was working on a lot of the storyboards for Zack Snyder. He's like he did a lot of the New 52. He worked with Alex Ross. Yeah. Those those runs. I'm a big like 05, 06 comic style. I like the not necessarily a lot of the cross hatching, but I like the almost sketch look from like the Batman and Superman comic books and some of the action comic books from that. I think now that I think about it, it's all just nostalgia for me. Like when Hal Jordan. I was wearing my Kyle Rayner shirt the other day when we actually watched the Justice League. Yeah, I got my Hal Jordan on today. But I think once they figure that out and they figure out like what direction they actually want to take the universe, because that's if you look at Marvel, like they literally took the universe and then they, every 3 years did like a big team up, and then everybody went back to their individual movies, and they're doing it by phases, and
now they're all burnt out with it. So
now they're all burnt out.
Wait some time, and then
they're still pushing it out because Disney Plus has the WandaVision show just came out.
Did you watch that yet?
I did. I'm not a big fan of it.
I'm not a big fan. I was expecting a lot more.
Well, here's what I say about the show. They took 2 B-list characters and expected us to like enjoy them. Yeah. On their own, but it's like, dude, they're the parts I want to get past in the big movies. Like, why the fuck would you make a show about the people I'm trying to skip past? But if you haven't watched Falcon and Winter Soldier, I think that it's pretty good. I would definitely recommend that one.
I had those comics as a kid.
Huh?
I had those comics.
The comics, Falcon and Winter Soldier. Yeah, I think their casting. Casting is another big thing. I don't know if you like the Blade comics, but did you see who they just got for Blade? I think his name's like Marie. I can't remember what he's in either. He's a really good actor though. They're rebooting Blade.
Cool.
They've got a lot of stuff.
I don't think. What the hell's his name? Who's Blade?
Wesley Snipes.
I don't think he gets enough credit for just his acting ability. I know he did some scribble text stuff or whatever. But I mean, he's done quite a lot of stuff.
Passenger 57. Woo! That man was action packed back in the fucking 90s.
What was the movie that he was a cross dresser with Patrick Swayze?
Oh shit!
But that's a pretty wide range.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
To vampire to
Joanna Man, but it's not.
But anyway, I mean, he
some range.
And I don't think he gets the credit that he deserves.
Not nearly.
And he's a legit black belt. He put on, I think it was for one of the Blade movies, he had on whatever channel it was, put on like a 2-hour show of
Behind the scenes?
of that, behind the scenes, a little bit of that stuff, but then he got promoted to 5th degree black belt.
Oh, shit.
And so it was a bunch of martial art demonstrations,
Yeah.
some movie stuff, people coming up and just speaking, and
Yeah.
it was a martial art show for 2 hours of just different things and a highlight stuff from Blade. And then it had him doing martial arts in that as well too. And
The
he's
fight
legit.
scenes in those movies still hold up.
The Blade series, this is funny, I used to promote this just as a joke in the classes. All of my the self-defense requirements that were in our Kempo system, all of those moves that were part of from white belt to black belt were in those movies.
Wow.
And so I'm like, that's green belt requirement.
Yeah,
That's brown belt
Oh,
requirement.
shit.
That's yellow belt requirement.
Did you guys have like a movie day where you were like showing some
I
of the
would just tell
techniques?
people all the time. I'm like, yep, this one was in Blade 3 or whatever.
Yeah. That's all. Blade 3, people didn't like that one. I liked it. I think
liked
Ryan
them all.
Reynolds fucking did an amazing job playing that character. One of my favorite lines is when he farts and he's like getting his ass beat while he's like hooked up or whatever, and he says, "Silent but deadly." Or no, he said he farted garlic, silent but deadly. Yeah, oh my god. Yeah, I'm super happy that Marvel's rebooting Blade though. I think that was one of the things. That and they need to. I think the Punisher. They need to figure out what they're. Did you watch the Netflix series?
Yeah.
So good.
Yep.
If they don't bring John Berthol back as the Punisher,
I can't tell you, I watch him in other things.
Yeah.
And I just can't see anything but Punisher.
Yeah.
I'm like,
That
he's
is-
gonna beat the shit out of it.
Yeah.
What's he doing?
And you're watching him in like
Yeah.
Ford versus Ferrari.
Yeah.
And he's like in a fucking suit. And you're like, oh yeah, it's that guy.
He's
And
got
that's
to
a
say
hard
something.
dude too. Like if you've, I've watched some of the stuff that he's done. Like he's gone on Joey Diaz's podcast and just talk about some of his upbringing. That's a legit motherfucker too.
I don't know if he trained. I'm guessing that he's done
He's
something.
had to have. Yeah.
I mean, that knows he's been
Yeah.
he's been hit. Yeah.
And that's what I'm worried about mine. I'm like, is Priscilla hitting me in my sleep? Because my shit is broken. I've told them 100
So you haven't
times.
broke your nose?
I don't know. Not that I know of.
I would have guessed you have.
Yeah. Maybe I did. I just never got it
Broke
set.
my nose twice
Yeah.
by the same person,
Yeah.
Jeff Morris. So Jeff,
Thanks.
he was a white belt, and I'm rolling. We're just about to start rolling. So I sit up in my guard, and he's a wrestler, and he's kind of got a little distance from me, so he's not like in my guard yet. And then he just jumps into my guard head first. Boom! Right in the face,
shit.
and I'm like, and we roll whatever, and then that was when he was a white belt, and then I think he was either brown or black belt. He came to the school. He lives in West Virginia. He came to the school, and we're just sparring, just having fun. And I think I took a knee to the face or something like that, and did it the second time. So I've been hit.
I've been hit in the nose. I just don't have any distinct time. Maybe it's just a bunch of micro fractures because this thing it's running off my face. And there's been plenty of times where I've like gotten hit and like my eyes start watering. So maybe like because I know your sinuses just go crazy when your nose gets broken. But I don't know. Maybe it was. There's just never been one incident where I've been hit. I mean, I've been hit in the face a lot, but. I've also hit my face on a lot of things.
Couldn't even tell you how many times I've been punched in the face and just haven't broke the nose. Except for
those two times.
Yeah.
Well, you got a good.
And I put it right back in. Like I heard a crack, and it's this way in, and so I'm like, I waited till we were done, grappling, and then put it back in.
Yeah.
And but
then you said nobody makes me bleed my own blood as you lick it and look at him with fury. It was such a pleasure to have you on. I got to wrap it up. Take care of the kiddos. But thank you so much for coming out. I can't preach. If you guys are in the Jacksonville area and you want to try something new, please come to Martial Arts and More. What's the address?
1146 Gum Branch Road, Suite 116.
Yep, right there.
Food Line Shopping Plaza.
Right there. Because I know sometimes it'll bring it up on Google. I think it's to your old location sometimes.
On Henderson?
Yeah.
Possibly, yeah.
Food Line Plaza. Come get a good
to
workout.
The Henderson place, you'll be surprised because that's where the pole fitness is. So you'll meet my wife doing pole fitness. So, and you will probably have a much better visual than you will at the gym. But
anything you want to plug, promote for the school?
Team JBM in Wilmington.
Hell yeah.
Our source more. We got the Mortal Kombat guys coming next month, and June will be the next Warrior Weekend and
Perfect.
stuff like that.
Yeah,
So,
super excited.
good time.
Again, thank you so much. Guys, thanks for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and take this opportunity to also go over to James Wright. Give him a follow. He's going to have all the content from the school. Anything you missed, if you missed an event, I'm sure it'll be up there. He's always doing live streams. So thanks again for your guys' support. Don't forget to come back. Listen on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube. Obviously, you're on here already. So again, thanks. Peace, everybody.
All right.